So, driver distance. Everybody wants to know how to hit their driver further, but how do we actually do that effectively on the course without losing too much control of the club? So there's a few things we can do here, but what's really important before we get into how to move the club a little bit faster is to make sure that everything is squared up and everything is aligned correctly. So a lot of the reason people struggle with driver distance is actually a problem with alignment and club face rather than a problem with moving the club fast. And what I mean by that is if you're the type of player who tends to get lots of curvature on their shots, whether that's good curvature that you can control and finishes down the middle of the fairway, or if that's uncontrollable curvature that ends up going left or right, anytime we're putting curvature on the ball, it means we're glancing across the ball and the club face and club path are pointing in different directions. This is never going to produce maximum distance, and actually a really good way of increasing distance straight away is to just make sure everything's squared up. So we can do a little bit of that in alignment, we can do a bit of that in swing, but to make sure we give ourselves the best chance to get a square alignment where the club face and club path are pointing in the same direction, to get maximal force back into the ball, we need to make sure our setup is good. So things to check in our setup are the alignment of our feet and shoulders, which should be pointing slightly right of target to counteract the fact that we're hitting it a little bit across with the driver. A square club face, again, I really often see people with a club face that's a little bit too open, particularly with driver, so a nice square club face that's pointing at the line we want the ball to finish on. A really, really good solid grip, and from there it's making sure things are nice and light and nice and straight and on plane. So once we're set up correctly and we've got good alignment, we've got good fundamentals, a couple of ways we can move the club faster. One, I think that is really, really important, which I've talked about before, is use of the ground. Most of the time when I see people trying to move driver faster, they start to really use their arms because that's the way they feel like they're going to move the club as fast as they can. It feels like they've got the most control over the club head, and it feels like that's the way to produce more distance. This isn't only wrong because it makes it hard to square the club face and it makes it easy to cut across the ball a little bit too much, again producing a bit of that side spin which we want to avoid. It's also not the most effective use of my body. I've got bigger muscles in my legs than I do in my hands and arms, so actually using my legs and pushing into the ground means that I can generate more speed without that loss of control by throwing my arms at the ball. So what that looks like is in my backswing, I'm really trying to load my right leg, pushing into the ground. And more importantly, in the through swing, I'm going to push off this right leg onto my front leg and really almost feeling like I'm coming up and out of the shot this way. This, by using the lower half of my body and by using the ground, is going to generate much more club head speed than if I just swing my arms as fast as I can at the ball. So use of your legs, backhand through, is going to be one way we can generate much more distance on our drives. Another way to generate a little bit more speed is actually by good tempo. And what I mean by this is not moving the club super fast back and super fast through, but actually having a tempo that's a little bit slower on the way back and then slowly speeds up through impact. We don't want the fastest part of the swing to be happening before the ball, and going too fast back in our backswing means that our transition is going to have to slow down, and the change of direction at the top is going to mean that the club isn't traveling as fast as it could be at the ball. So a better way to think about this is smooth back and then a slow acceleration into the ball, and we're not rushing into that transition because, again, we don't want the fastest part of our swing to be back here. We want the fastest part of our swing to be at the ball, and that means smooth back, smooth transition, then explode up and through the shot. And that's actually a better tempo for making sure our club head is traveling at its fastest when we've got the ball in the way. So to put all that together, we need good fundamentals with everything nice and square, good solid grip, nice and light. We're going to start to use the ground in the back and through swing, and we're also going to think about the tempo and the fastest part of the swing being at the ball. So again, putting that all together, it should hopefully look like this.